What's up, my fellow Frosties? It's been a hot minute, hasn't it? So today I bring you a video that's Tyrannical. I have seen a lot of requests for Tyrannical keys, so we got a big fat 21 mists to cater for that. I hope you enjoy. And we're doing another commentary video where I go pack by pack and discuss my thoughts and things like that. If you're not familiar, with high keys or feel comfortable with, these packs and things like that, it's always best that you just kill these spike claws on their own before you take them into this pack. It's actually really dangerous to take them into this pack. So again, if you're really experienced with tanking, healing, DPSing, your experienced group, more than welcome to, but I think things like that, they cost more time than they save if they go wrong, so playing safe is fine. And obviously no one ever takes this pack, and we are blessed with a Shadow Priest. I mean, I don't know if you've seen this group comp, but it's meta, I tell you. We have a good time. As for this pack, again, there's nothing really too much to discuss. I know people wanted to make it more Frost related, my thoughts going into the different packs and things like that, but I kind of feel, well, I'm pressing my buttons in this pack. I don't know if that's quite useful, so there are a few things that I don't feel necessary to comment on, but if there are any particular Frost Mage things that I've picked up, I will obviously say them. But in general, it's pretty much press your cooldowns on cooldown. There are quite few exceptions, I would say, where you would need to hold your cooldowns for something. Obviously the first boss in this dungeon, you want cooldowns for the first phase, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. But other than that, there aren't really any moments and any keys that I would probably hold my cooldowns for in particular. So the next two mobs coming up, I'm not sure how well known this is, but this was quite a new trick for me. It's actually best to phase these two guys at once, have them both phase to 50%, do their thrash together, and you can outrange the thrash. So it actually saves a lot of time to just make them both phase together. They start casting, you outrange it just like this. It's safe on the healer. A healer doesn't have to blow cooldowns having to heal two furious thrashings. Also, there's a pride that comes up after these two mobs, and then there's the boss. It's very healer intensive, this whole segment of the dungeon. So, executed correctly, I don't think we phase them both to 50% at the same time, but that's what you want to aim for. Phase them both, outrange. Healer doesn't have to blow cooldowns. They can save cooldowns for pride and the boss. Easy. Bish, bash, bosh. Oh dear. Okay, I'm going to be quiet for a minute. So actually what I forgot to comment on at the start is I am running Freezing Winds Legendary in this key. I tend to run Freezing Winds in general in Tyrannical weeks, but also I see a lot of questions between Glacial Fragments and Freezing Winds, like when would you take either? Freezing Winds and Glacial Fragments both give you slightly different damage profiles, so the answer to that is always situational, and I know how frustrating the answer is because people just want to be told what to play, but it really is. I mean, I wouldn't be honest if I tell you one or the other to play, because you play both, you can play both, they are situational. So Glacial Fragments will give you big consistent AoE, so if your group needs that constant AoE and has like single target covered, has pride covered and things like that, then you can take Glacial Fragments and be free to pad your heart out. But obviously on Tyrannical the bosses are more important, so Freezing Winds offers great single target outside of AoE in comparison to Glacial Fragments. It's great on pride, it's great on bosses, it's slightly less overall. You can still do really good overall, but it's going to be slightly less in those AoE packs because it's not so much pad damage, it's meaningful damage, meaning, it's great for funneling, it's great for priority targets, controlling the affixes. I covered it in my Mythic Plus video if anyone wants a little bit more discussion on it, but I still see a lot of questions, so I think it's worth. Right, so for this boss, for the vulnerable phase, try and make sure you have a pot. I didn't, because I suck, but yeah, you want an orb, and you want a form of rune of power, whether it be icy veins or whether it be rune of power casted on its own. You want some form of rune of power, and you want your orb, and you can just smash into this boss. So I didn't have a pot, so I didn't do as much spicy damage, but we still did good damage. We're still blasting, we're pressing that combust button. Yeah, so we usually tend to hero when we have 40 seconds left on Pride. That's when we hero, phase the tree quickly, get into the vulnerable phase. You want the Pride buff for the vulnerable phase, and hero, and a big blast in the middle. So that's my only tip there. I also see questions asked a lot about trinkets. I'm currently running a glyph from Zymox on heroic. I wasn't fortunate enough to get the mythic version, and we haven't re-cleared in a long time. So yes, I'm running heroic. Always sim your gear. I can't tell you what's an upgrade for you. I don't know what gear you have available. I don't know what trinkets you have available. BIS lists, unfortunately, are quite outdated these days with the wide range of gear available. So always sim your gear. I have a whole simming section in my Mythic Plus guide if anyone's interested. Not to plug my video, it's helpful. It says everything there. So if you want help with that, it's good for that. So the other trinket that I'm running is a 226 Unbound Changeling with the haste proc. That was what simmed best for me. Again, it's not a guideline of what you should have. You should always sim your character, because again, you might have completely different gear setup, so other stats might be more beneficial to you. So yeah, in terms of trinkets, I will link Toe Grinder's Mage Sims below. It has a complete list of how the trinkets sim in comparison to each other. It has, Covenant lists of how they comparatively sim and all the useful information. So you can find that linked below. I also see a lot of comments, why is Glyph, the trinket, good for Frost? Because they think, oh, it procs mastery and Frost doesn't want mastery. It's actually nothing to do with the mastery proc. We pretend that the mastery proc doesn't exist. The reason why Glyph is so good for Frost is that the damage on use scales very, very well with crit, haste, and verse. And these are all very good stats for Frost. These are all the stats that you want for your Frost Mage. So the trinket scales with, all of our best stats. And it scales especially strong with haste. So matched with Icy Veins, the trinket it does really, really well. So there's a little explanation as to why Glyph is good, because again, I see that questioned a lot. I think people pay far too much attention to the mastery proc, but literally, as I said, you just pretend that doesn't exist. So if anyone's asking about the Jaina in a hot tub, this is a hot tub stream. And quaking is now quacking. This was a joke we had running on the stream. For anyone that wants to catch my stream, it's twitch.tv/Okaymage. It's linked below. I'm hoping to have a proper schedule and stream more regularly. It's something I'm working towards. Yeah, especially going into 9.1. I think 9.1 I'm going to really have a set schedule and stream more often and be a bit more reliable in terms of videos as well. I think at the moment I'm trying to bide my time with the game. I don't want to burn out. I don't want to spend too much time, because I really enjoy the game and I want to keep enjoying the game. And if I spend too much time, in BFA, I played all day, every day. I did about 3,000 dungeons in the end. It was too much, and I got a bit burnt out, and I've never had a break. So yeah, so I'm taking it a little bit easy this tier. I'm pushing kind of for fun. I'm not really pushing seriously, and we're just doing keys, because I've always loved keys. I've pushed keys since Legion. It's content I really enjoy. Okay, so going into the maze, again, it's quite difficult to say pack by pack what I do for Frost Mage in particular. Press cooldowns on cooldown. There are mobs that you want to focus in these packs, the Stinger and also the Miststalker as well, the little fox. They are priority in these packs. The kicks are also priority. Don't let them go off. You can purge one, and then you can purge both kicks if they go off, but ideally you don't want to, because one of them is a mass AoE heal and it takes a while to individually go through and spell steal it all. So yeah, in these packs, butterflies and the foxes priority. They hurt and can be a problem for healers. I don't do the maze because it's a healer job. No, I'm kidding. So yeah, again, going pack by pack, there's not much to say from me. Pressing cooldown from cooldown, I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot, which is why I was hesitant to really go through and do a commentary video in that sense. I kind of like talking about the dungeon as well, because I don't want it to be a video of me saying, yeah, I pop icy veins here, oh, icy veins off cooldown, we're popping icy veins here. I didn't really want to do that. But yeah, also, depending on your group, with prides, you kind of, mirrors is a great thing to use on single target. A lot of people ask, oh, in AoE, do you use mirrors? How do you incorporate that? It's very difficult. With Freezing Winds Legendary, you do get a lot of procs. It can be very overwhelming. You're gonna munch. It just happens. You get way too many procs that you can deal with efficiently. I mean, I scuff it. When you're in the middle of Mythic Plus, your mind is on the dungeon, not so much your rotation, unfortunately. There's a lot of things you've got to keep tabs on, especially if you're streaming. Because I love reading every single comment in the chat, which is bad. It means I can't really fully focus on the key. So I probably scuff things a lot. But we try, you know. We do try. So yeah, in terms of procs, I don't think you can afford to press Frostbolt before Flurry in an AoE situation. If you've got your Orb out, you're getting Fingers of Frost procs, and you've got your mirrors out, you're not going to have time to cast Frostbolt before every single Flurry. So it's okay to just let the Flurry fly. You also don't want to munch any procs from your mirrors, so you don't want to spend time casting Frostbolt and then your mirrors gives you another brain freeze, but you didn't get it because you're casting Frostbolt and you didn't have time. So I generally just throw the Flurry out as well. So in terms of Pride, it's generally really good to press your mirrors on Pride, and also press alter time when the Pride gets lower. Ideally you want to say to your healer, okay, I'm going to use alter time, can you top me? Or whatever communication you want to use, or just try and pop alter time when you're quite high, and then you can just gain your health back. It's good for healing. Prides are very healer intensive. Yeah, so we've got quacking coming in again. Which is why Jaina has a goose, just saying. Inside jokes from the stream. I generally really like mists. It's a lot of consistent AoE. Glacial Fragments does do really well in this key. There's a lot of consistent AoE, but it's Tyrannical and Pride hurts on higher levels. So Freezing Winds is much more useful. We was kind of lacking that single target nuke, so it was much more helpful for Freezing Winds in this group comp. In terms of the Stalker, it jumps to a person, it bites them, it does a lot of damage. People can interrupt it, like Heroic can stun it mid-cast and things like that, so it doesn't actually bite. But if you get it, you should pretty much ice block it, unless someone has it covered. The healer says no, you don't need to block it or something, which won't really happen. You can just block it, you don't really need block for anything else. So it's a great use of it. Side note, does anyone wish that Ice Block wasn't on the GCD? Like 1.5 seconds is a long time to be sitting there like a sitting duck. As you can see, we actually let a heal go off in this pack, so you saw me frantically spell stealing. So, you know, these mistakes happen. I think in general people think that keys have to be perfect or it's a done deal, but really what defines a good Mythic Pluser is reacting well, thinking on the spot, making good decisions when things are less favourable. Obviously you can't afford mistakes, you know, in high keys, but sometimes it happens. We're all human. Like, sometimes someone ninja pulls, sometimes someone, you know, doesn't get the kick, and you just have to adapt. You just have to work around it. Like, okay, this has happened, there's nothing you can do about it now. How best do we deal with this? And that is what sets apart great Mythic Plus players, in my opinion. Like, the heal went off, it was no biggie, just spell steal it, move on, you know, carry on. Keep calm, carry on. Oh my god, no, I can't believe I just said that. I am so cringe, honestly, I swear to god. My sense of humour is just terrible sometimes. I apologise. That's definitely a dislike on this video just for that. Do I edit this out? But yeah, on this boss, generally you can polymorph the doggy, just to help out. Doesn't really cost you anything, and you can polymorph every single one and just hope that it doesn't go to melee, because obviously your orb and your splitting ice is gonna break. But yeah, There's nothing else really in particular to tell you in this boss, other than, you know, you can polymorph. Also, keep your eye on the dodgeball, because that's a one-shot pretty much. But these are kind of basic things. I'm sure everyone knows this. I don't even need to say it, so maybe I should just let the music play in these kind of situations. I don't want to kind of make it seem like no one knows what they're doing, because I think everyone knows the tactics for this boss by now, and if not, well, welcome. Pew pew, press icy guns, fatal cooldown. Okay, watching this back, I sat here wetting myself at how much I spin trying to work out which one to focus. I think I did a few 360s there. That was really funny to watch back. But yeah, try and work out as best you can which one it is. Do a few spins and then the answer will become clear, apparently. That's the tactic. I think it's safe to say at this point, as the boss has come into an end, what I find useful with the boss. I feel like this boss is a panicker. It definitely makes people panic, because there's this phase where you're panicking, trying to find which of the images you need to attack, and at the same time as you're doing that, the dodgeball comes in, and then there's also the Vulpin that spawns that can fixate and freeze you, so that obviously causes people to panic as well. And generally what helps me with mentally with this boss is just focus on dodgeball. I think people put a lot of pressure on themselves to find the right image in an instant, and you can afford to spend a couple of seconds, focus on the dodgeball, and then do a couple of 360s and have a look and see which one it is. Dodgeball always catches people out at that same moment. It comes in and people are panic looking in for the image, and then they dive to dodgeball. So just always focus on the dodgeball timer. Dodgeball is the priority. I know everything else feels like it's priority, but dodgeball is. And as for the Vulpin, just frost over it, give yourselves a few seconds to reposition. Don't worry about it, don't panic. So coming into these packs, obviously the Staghorn is the mob that will cast, and both of the Staghorns cast you need to interrupt. The first one that it does is a AoE shield that you can purge. Like the heal, it's obviously if it goes out you can purge it, but it's favourable that you obviously interrupt it. It's kind of a priority, especially if you're pulling a big pull. If you're pulling multiple packs together, you're not going to have enough mana to purge them all. And then the second interrupt is a heal on all the mobs, so it's also a priority. Now, don't misjudge these acid mobs as well. This volatile acid that goes out on someone, this cast can't be interrupted, but it can be stunned. So again, like a rogue stun in the middle of the cast will stop it going on someone. It actually trucks that poison that goes out on somebody. And going into Pride, you don't really want too many of those debuffs on people. So, if you have one, you can pop mirror images. Just don't underestimate the poison. That's all pretty much. Don't underestimate these mobs. There's also probably a lot of kerfuffle on how to stand in Pride, and by this point I'm sure everyone knows how to deal with it, but it's always best for the person who gets it to stay still and everyone else move. It's much harder for one person to try and dodge 4 people than, everyone taking one step and dodging one person. And in general, it makes it really easy when you line up. So you see the, front, back, left to right. It goes out on a diagonal. So if you stand in front of one another, you'll form a line and none of you will ever get hit and you don't have to worry. So it can make things really easy if you just stand in a line. It's not always practical, sure. Sometimes you get pushed out, but try and see where the line is and try and line up. It does make Pride so much easier. You can focus the healer can focus on healing because it's very healing intensive, and the DPS can focus on DPSing. You don't then have to worry about dodging people. It just makes it much easier. So yeah, it's not to go on about pride when we're in the middle of this pull, but again, there's not much to say here other than DPS pew pew interrupt. I'm not sure if people don't know already, but if you Frost Nova when your orb is out, the crits from Frost Nova on orb counts towards icy propulsion, so it helps get your icy veins back off cooldown quicker. The Reavers really hurt. Again, these mobs shouldn't be underestimated either. They are quite painful. Just definitely watch out for the poison. Oh, look at this gamer getting hit by quacking. What a show. Professional Mythic Plus player, by the way. So as you can see, you can still do a lot of damage with the Freezing Winds legendary. I feel like people deal in absolutes in WoW in general. You know, if one thing is less, that means it's last, and it's bad. So if something's more AoE orientated, that means it has 0 single target. No, it doesn't do any single target. And that's not the case. So, you know, people see Freezing Winds as a more single target funnel legendary, which means no, it doesn't do any AoE, but it does do AoE. It's just a tiny bit less than Glacial Fragments, but that doesn't mean then it doesn't do any AoE. I really wish people stopped dealing in such absolutes. Bloody Sith Lords, the lot of you. So sometimes we adapt the end of the mists depending on the outcome. So you can see we're still waiting for hero. We have so much time. So we're like, okay, well, we might as well get pride while we're waiting for hero. If you find yourselves looking a bit tight on the timer, you can get the trash after the boss and skip this pride. And in general, like, you know, take the trash after the boss and pull big if you need to. Or you can do it quite multiple ways. Again, it's all about adapting. So, you know, be wary of the timer, see what you've got time for, and it's up to you. Well, this pride is certainly spicy. You can see me spamming the ice block button here. They're both on cooldown. Oh gosh, what tragedy. But it's fine, it's fine. In hindsight, I should have definitely pressed mirrors. But you live and you learn, right? It's hard to tell sometimes if you're going to need certain things for the boss or certain things for pride. It's a tough call. Also, as a side note, I realised that Mirrors of Torment I am shortening to mirrors, but Mage also has mirror images, which is also shortened to mirrors, which is quite annoying. And I think I've said mirrors so many times that everyone's probably thinking, well, I don't know which one you mean. So, oh my gosh, watching this back, this was such bull. I definitely wasn't in that. That's like the famous last words of any DPS. I wasn't in that. I must have just been right on the edge and got clipped. What a blink. The problem is with dungeons like this that have different levels, it's hard to tell how far your blink's going to go, if you even blink at all, because sometimes I blink on the spot because of the different levels on the floor. It's just risky, but I wanted to get back to my rune and I thought I would blink far enough and be fine. Apparently not. So, sometimes greeding the rune of power. Well, not greeding, I was panicking about the rune of power, like, oh, that's my damage, I need it. I'll blink back over there and it'll be fine. Probably could have just taken a second, waited for the swirly to go off. So as a side note here, this was something that I learned, well, more recently. I say recently, maybe in the last, maybe a couple of months ago, but those green swirlies that move, they actually move faster depending on how fast you move out when they spawn. So if you take a second, obviously don't stand in it, but see how I move here immediately? That means one of my swirlies is going to move in the next one, it's going to move quite quickly. So if you take a second and don't move straight away, obviously don't get hit. I'm not saying to anyone to get hit by it, but if you just don't move straight away and you take a little bit of time before you move, the swirlies that come in will be slower. So yeah, that was a fun fact that I'm not sure if everyone knows, because that wasn't something that I picked on like early on. That was something I learnt more later. I believe it might have distance involved in the calculation as well. I'd have to double check that. I should probably have double checked that before I recorded this segment, but it could also be the distance that you cover that affects it as well. Also, with the mind link, you want to be out of range of everyone so that the mind link doesn't actually spawn those blue beams. If you're not close to anyone, it won't hit anyone for damage, and it's a hit instantly. So you're not near anyone, it's not going to give that bit of damage to whoever you're near. So if it's on you, you kind of want to get away from everyone so that no one takes any damage. But yeah, if you're all spread out or if you're all close together, it's not that easy to get away from everyone, especially if everyone's around the boss. There might not be a spot where it's safe. But anyway, GG. I hope you guys liked this video. I really enjoy chatting to myself. Chatting to all of you guys. I know that you guys like this style of video and find it helpful, so I'm more than happy to cater. If you have any feedback or things that you'd like to see or what you like, let me know. I'm quite new to YouTube still, and I do this for you guys, so I'm always wanting to know feedback. But until next time, bye.